Good morning. Munir Ajam here with another video, and today we will be talking about terminology in relation to the word project. So we will be addressing the question of what is a project, and as a result of that question we will also be talking about how to manage such a project. Well, for many people who are in project management, that seems this is a silly question. Everybody knows what a project is. Well, maybe, or maybe after listening to this video, you will have a different perspective. The word project could mean many things, including, for example, when you ask your friend, what are you doing tonight? He said, well, I have a project. What is a project? Going out to dinner. Well, obviously here I'm not going to talk about those type of projects that are really more of, what kind of activities you're planning to do tonight or tomorrow or this weekend. I want to talk about project from the business perspective or from organizational perspective. And I will be addressing the question, and I will follow the screen here as much as possible. And we will go through two different routes first. The first route is what I call the service provider route. So assuming you are a service provider, a contractor, a consultant, working for a company, you are working on project for companies, so you are providing a service. Again, it could be construction, engineering, or IT, or anything else. In that case, we use the word project, which is a common sense that I'm working on a project. And as a result of that, you have someone who will be labeled as a project manager. Okay, cool, no problem. However, in reality, you are not managing a project. You are managing a piece of the project, if you want to be academic about it. This is why when sometimes we hear about agile project management, or a contractor said, I'm a project manager. In reality, maybe if you are a contractor from your organization, you are managing a project, that might be okay. However, when we say agile project management or agile, or a construction project manager, academically, we need to understand these terms. Sure, if you want to use them for convenience, I'm all for it. I have no problem with that. People can call apple oranges if they want. However, again, in order to understand the full concept of project and project management, we really have to understand what these terms mean. So if you are managing, let's say, the software development for a business project, technically you are not a project manager. You are managing a piece of the project. So maybe a better term would be phase manager, or stage manager, although that term doesn't seem cool, does it? A more appropriate name would be development manager. If you are the person responsible for the development of software or courses or construction, if you are a construction manager, you are a construction manager, not a construction project manager. Yeah, that's sometimes when you use the term loosely. Now, do we care? Well, again, if you are using this title for convenience, I'm not going to touch that. But I repeat what I just said. We need to look at understanding these terms. So, in a way, if you are a service provider, 99% of the time, I would say, you are managing only a piece of the project. This is why we say it's a partial project. And you are managing, from your perspective, from your company, you are managing the full project. But from the client perspective, you are managing a piece of the project. And whatever title you want to use for your project manager or the people who are leading the work, up to you. But this is one version. Now, if we come to the second part, if we talk about the project owner. So if we are a project owner, and in this case, I have to split it into two parts. And I'm going to go into the middle here first. In the middle part, if you are a project owner, which means you are working in an existing company. You have an existing organization. It could be government, could be NGO, or could be private sector. So we have an existing organization, and this organization wants to work on new projects. Here we have to look at three different types of projects that this organization could work on. So let's say you work in this company and you work in the project management department or the IT department or the construction department. So you work in a department. And the business owner, the facilities, whoever come with an idea for a project, they study a project and they do their own initial work, the front end work. And then when they're ready to hand it over to another department to manage the project, in that case, in your department, let's say if you are IT or project management or construction, you are managing a piece of the project, almost like a service provider. In a way, you are a contractor. You are, in some organization, we call it the execution agency. You are the agency that is executing a business project. So in that case, you are only managing a partial project. Even if you are on the upfront, if you are doing the studies and the initial studies, technically you're not managing the whole project unless you have responsibility for the whole project. So this is a type of project. Another type of project is, of course, what I call the C2C, concept to closure. What does that mean? It means in an organization, you might have the concept of project management. These are organizations who have bought into project management and accept the culture of project management. In that case, any project or any new initiative, business initiative, it's a project. And they might deal with it or treat it as C2C, concept to closure, which means they appoint one person, a project manager. Now, of course, this project manager could change over the phases of the project, but at least there will be one project manager responsible, along with the sponsor, for the project from concept to closure. And in that case, they will manage the project. They go through the stages of a project. I'm not going to explain the stages. You can refer to some of our other videos on the CAMP project lifecycle model that we have, where a project like this will go from concept to feasibility to requirement to definition to delivery and all the way to closure. So I'm not going to talk about the life cycle here, but technically what we are saying in this case, you are following a project life cycle from end to end. So again, organization in this case, they could appoint a project manager, and the project manager would work with the sponsor to take the project from the initial concept all the way to closure. Now, what we often don't understand or we forget, that projects are part of an asset. So many organizations today are moving from pure just project management, and they look at project management as the technical people who are there to deliver a project, into the concept of managing the whole asset. Now, managing the whole asset, it's usually seldom we find a common somebody called an asset manager. Although if you go to oil and gas companies, industrial companies, facilities companies, like for example, in my past life, I used to work with Exxon, and for every process unit that we have in a refinery or a chemical plant, we will have what we call a contact or the unit manager or the unit leader. But that will be more of a technical guy that is responsible for the process of that physical facility. So usually the word asset management or asset manager is not about the person, to have a person as an asset, but it's the organizational approach. The organizational approach to treat project not as something on their own, but part of an asset. Now, what does it mean? Maybe the best way I can explain this is when I go to the last version here. But what we are saying here, from an organizational culture and management perspective, is quite different to manage projects that are partial project or concept to closure, and they are quite different than managing the whole asset and thinking of asset management. I would just say at this time, when we talk about asset management, is more about product life cycle, which means like if you are building a residential tower, obviously the product life in that case will be the life, the useful life of that facility. It goes from the concept to all the way to maybe demolition. I'll talk more about this here. So what's here? Before I erase this board and go to explain a little bit more. Well, what we said, we are looking here in the perspective of a project owner, and what we said, the project owner could be an existing company as we just described. The other part of it here is that a new company, a new investment. A group of investors, they want to launch a new company, a new business. Whatever that business is. It could be a coffee shop or a restaurant, or it could be building a university. Okay? So a group of investors, it could be individual investor or corporate investor, doesn't matter. So investors, they are ready to launch a new business. Of course, this could be also entrepreneurs, young professional entrepreneurs who want to establish maybe a graphic design. So again, the business is irrelevant here, except we need to clarify what this means. So let me erase this board so I can talk about this a little bit more. I will keep some of that here. Excuse me, I have a small board because I'm doing this from home. If we are talking about investment, so let's put the word here. It's an investment. And sometime, and this is very common in business school. And what triggered this video is yesterday some of the discussion with one of the people who are working with me in an online program, is that when we hear schools, business schools, or investment companies, or maybe incubators, or capital venture, when they hear the word project, when we talk about the word project in that case, yeah, there's a huge difference between the word project from this perspective versus project from the project management purist perspective. Remember, in project management, we discussed the different option earlier. Here, from an investment, in a way, when these organization or entrepreneurs talking about, I have a project, in reality, what they mean, that they have an investment opportunity, or they are considering opening a business. So in this case, the word project is more synonymous to the word business or venture. Again, in one of the companies I used to work for, when we are launching a new idea, a new plant, a new facility, we call it venture statement. We don't call it project statement or project brief or project charter. Why? Because that statement is about the business or the new initiative, the new facility, rather than just the engineering or the physical aspect of concept to closure project. So from an investor's or investment perspective, the word project often refer to business. This is why many people who go to business school sometime and they want to study a business planning or project management or organizational management or operation management versus the people who study project management, they found it quite different. Because in project management, we focus about delivering the project or delivering the product of the project. So if my project is to build a water bottling plant, the product for me is the plant itself, not the waters. Yeah? My project is to build the plant. What happened before, what happened after is none of my business. However, from a business perspective, we cannot look at it that way. I have to look at the things from a total asset perspective, because you are launching a new business, and that new business is an asset that should exist for whatever period of life that's useful life. If it is an operating business, like a coffee shop, it could last for 100 years. If it is a building, a residential building, useful life, usually 25 to 30 years. Now, in order to manage the project or the investment, usually here where it's almost impossible to find a field of study or a major or a university degree that teach someone how to be an investor manager. And what I mean by investor manager is somebody to manage the whole life cycle, because it's impossible. This life cycle could last 30 years. So in business and academics, we divide this management concept into multiple steps. So if we think about the project or the investment in this case, we usually need to go through a stage that might be, I call it the business exploration period. Obviously, in a group of investors might have an idea, they want to launch a new business, a new venture, a new idea, so they need to explore. That might be very high level, that might be maybe just an opinion, maybe based on observation. It doesn't have to be necessarily very formal process. Once they start to consider this seriously, once they consider this seriously, they might do what we call a market research. So they do the market research or a feasibility study. And with that, they will make up their mind whether they want to continue or not. And if they decide to continue, here where, in this case, where concept to closure could come into the picture like we discussed before. What do I mean here? We can fall back on traditional project management or the concept of project management the way we discussed it before, which is how to take this project, this new investment, from concept to closure. Now here is the problem, the word closure. What does it mean? In a typical project, from a project management perspective, closure is when we deliver the product, the client accept, or the internal client or external client accept the product of the project, which means we built the watering plant, the water bottling plant. We built it. So in that case, the customer will accept it. And from a project management perspective, we go through what we call the close stage to properly close the project. So in that way, C2C is about closing the project. However, closing the project is like the graduation ceremony. Yeah? We call it commencement. Why? Because it concludes an education, a graduate degree or a master's degree or a bachelor degree. But why do we call it commencement if it's concluding a degree? Because that's a commencement of a new era, the new life, the professional life. So when we close the project, from a project management perspective, we are actually transitioning into a new phase of life, which is the operation and maintenance period. So if I break down this concept, the life of the product, I don't want to go into a product life cycle here in the whole concept, but at least we need to have three major steps. So when we study this, we need to study it from a different perspective. First is maybe the strategic planning or business perspective, business view. That's one phase. The second part of it, once we are ready to go ahead, we might go through the C2C. Let me use the term C2C because this way you can relate it before. C2C project. And then once we finish with the project and we deliver it, right, then we go into what we call the O&M, or operation and maintenance. Now, I know these terms come from industrial facilities. Depend on what industry, maybe you just use the word operations. So there are three major areas. And of course, operation and maintenance, well, let me give you some timeline. This could be, if it's a major project, this could be months to a year. So maybe, let's say 6 to 12 months. Obviously, if we're talking about big project here. This could be maybe 3 years. And this could be 25 years. So, is there anything that help us learn all of this where one person can manage all of that? It's not likely. That's not to use the word impossible. So, what business schools focus on? Well, business schools focus on, well, most likely on here. Or maybe here. So, there may be some focus on strategic planning and business planning and operation management. And what does mean operation management? That means HR, accounting, finance, marketing, sales. All of these business function happening as part of the operation and maintenance, or maybe even earlier for a facility or a project. So with that perspective, when we talk about project management, business schools, unfortunately, one of the things we see a gap in practice today, and we see it with many venture capital or maybe organizations that fund a new initiative or a new idea, that provide seed capital or growth capital. What we find out often when they do the business planning, they focus here and here. And often this is forgotten or not focused enough. And that could be one of the reasons where many businesses and new businesses fail within 2 years. And statistics shows that, I don't know the exact statistic, but because it keeps changing over time, is within 5 years, only 1 out of 10 businesses survive. So that's very bad. Why? Well, we think here. We think here. We think this is what's missing. What does it mean? We cannot focus our business planning and organization, especially those who fund projects and invest money into new initiatives and new ideas. You cannot just think about, I have a nice idea, and we put the rosy picture and everything around it, and we can start talk about operation and maintenance and ROI, and maybe break-even points and exit strategy. You know, that's what many business plans today focus on. What they miss is that how to go from approval of the idea, how to go from the concept of the idea all the way to here, which is that where we need project management. We need to study the concept very well. We need to understand the feasibility. The feasibility, in a way, include the financial management. Some of these things we want to include in the business plan in the CAMP model are included here. Also, what we need to study is that what's the requirement? What's the operational readiness? What are the things that we need to do in order to make sure that once we open for business at this point on time, the project will be, the business project, the investment will be sustainable and profitable. I'm just going to close with a couple of comments. Many people who study our CAMP model, and which is a project lifecycle methodology, they think it's only here. But actually, we do kind of go all the way from here, maybe to here. I'm not going to go all the way there. What do I mean by this? A lot of what we do here is part of what we call in our CAMP model the discovery phase. That is where we study the concept. We explore for solution. We have a problem, we have an opportunity, we have a threat we want to deal with. We explore for solution, we explore the ideas, we come up with different alternatives, we study their feasibility, and we select a choice. Once we select a choice, actually all of that now, so technically this whole area here is included there in our discovery phase. Then in the discovery phase, once the project is authorized, we go to the next phase, which we call the development phase. In that case, the first stage is the requirement. We study the requirement. What are the requirements? Including money requirement, technical requirement, project management requirement, even operation and maintenance requirement. Some of those requirements that are crucial to help us be sustainable here must be addressed in the requirement stage. And then we do the definition stage. So once we reach gate 5 in the CAMP model, we conclude the definition stage. We should have studied the project from concept to closure. We should have studied how to operate, how to maintain, how to market, how to sell. What is the financial profit? What is the financial model? All of these are studied here within the CAMP model. And then that allows us to go forward. And once we reach that stage, then it becomes business management. This is more the traditional business management I mentioned earlier, managing the people, managing the resources, hiring, recruitment, marketing, sales, financial management, and all of these areas. With this, I hope I was able to clarify the concept and what is the word project mean from a different perspective and a different angle. With this, I say I wish you success today, tomorrow, and always.